Hey guys, it's Chris. It's November here in Illinois, and although we got some ice out there on our lakes, we are nowhere near close enough to safe yet. So I just want to do a quick video on this. This is my new Frabrill 3255 Sidestep, and I was looking for some setup stuff online, and there really wasn't a whole lot of information. And they're not super difficult, but I figured I'd go ahead and put together a quick little video on a couple little pointers that, while I found setting this thing up might have helped speed up the process just a little bit. So anyway, without further, we'll check it out. We'll start on the inside here and just show you a couple things. There's the sled base, and you know, one of the things that you start with is assembling these chairs, the framing and the supports and everything, and just most of the stuff is in the directions, but sometimes if you're like me, you get ahead of the directions a little bit and you might miss something. So I just wanted to point this out. This is the swivel base, and on the swivel base in here you can see at the very bottom those bolts that go in there. Make sure that when you assemble it, you can see the long side, it goes down there. Don't put it up, because if you put it up, the chair is not going to swivel correctly. Always start with that base piece with the bolts going down, and then you can flip the chair upside down. You can spin this around, put each of those screws in, and they have a little thread sealant on each of them, so it makes it pretty easy. But if you swivel this around, it makes it a little easier to get in there and do what you need to do. Also, on the sled itself, there's a aluminum piece that goes underneath here, which the directions, at least I didn't see it. Of course, I skim over thing like 800 miles an hour because I think that I can assemble everything on my own. But you know, anyway, I didn't see it in the directions. That piece goes here, and these two bolts go through it right there, just so it helps support this when you put the legs on the bottom of the sled here, where it kind of clamps over. You saw me take the other one off. And don't forget your rod holders here. They just swivel out. And you can see this is the longer one, and then those three are all the same size. Another thing, when you put this corner piece on, you'll start down there with that these and that aluminum piece, and then get those two on. And then you'll start doing rods. The first thing when you're doing the rods is, I assembled these, and from the factory, the nub pieces, you know, that click in here, you see that little clicker that puts you in the guides. That's how you push, you know, disassemble this tent when you're ready to get going. You push that in and slide it down. Well, this came backwards, and this piece was actually spun and on this way. So I assembled all this and started to push it up and realized that they were not assembled correctly or spun correctly. So just make sure, you know, when you're assembling this down here, that this is, the little nub is in the right spot so it clicks in. That might save you some time, because I had to disassemble all mine and then reassemble it. Anyway, the other thing too is start on the slower one. This one down here isn't really used at all. So just go to this second one from the bottom. You can see this hole, there's another one there. And then the two inside posts, you know, make sure you put them on the inside, not the outside, because it is easier also to reverse that, even though the directions show it. I got ahead of myself again. Anyway, start with the bottom one, you know, then you can lay it down, then you can put the second one up and lay it down, and then the outside one, which, you know, these extend, but it's got the J bracket here, and then you can see it goes around the base. Same thing on these, you know, just make sure all your little nubbies are the right way. On the inside, the only other thing I could tell you here, when I assembled the tent, you know, the windows come separate, and the two side ones come together, and the front and the rear one come together. Well, I thought I got shorted 2 windows, but they were actually, both these plastic windows were stuck together. Same thing on the sides. So just, yeah, you know, pull apart. I'm sure you'd figure it out like I did, but it might save you a little bit of time. What else? In here, not a whole lot else. You can see the tent, all insulated, ton of room in here. So, you know, I'm pretty happy and can't wait to get fishing in this thing, but you know, haven't yet. We got a little ways to go before we get enough ice, but at least I can get this thing going. Another thing on the outside that I wanted to show you is there is a weather stripping down on the base here that helps hold the fabric down to the bottom of the sled. And there's a lip that goes all the way around the bottom of the sled. And what you have to do is take this little weather stripping, which you see right here. You find the center of that weather strip. It just comes in a big giant piece. And then what I did was I just centered it on the window. I marked my center, and then, you know, I took and I pulled the fabric down and then up in there, because you got to have it up around that lip. And then what I did was I held that weather stripping up here like that, and I took my mallet and I had to hit it. I tried to push it on with my hand, but it was really hard. You can get it started, and then once I got it started, I just, you know, gave it some good taps with the rubber mallet, and then you just keep working it around. I stuck the first screw in just to hold it, and then I worked it all the way to the edge, made sure the fabric was, you know, nice and even and tight around there, and then I put a screw all the way on the edge, that center one, then I split the difference, and then I just kept splitting the difference on all the screws so they marched out fairly evenly. The corners were a little pain. You know, you got to really work those, and again, I just used the mallet to hit them up, and it seemed to be fine. You know, it's a little time consuming, but hopefully this video can help somebody. Just a few little pointers there, and you know, it's nothing spectacular, but it's a pretty cool ice shanty. So, and hopefully it's actually a pretty warm ice shanty, but you guys know what I'm saying. Anyway, again, there's my Citadel. Hopefully this helps somebody with oh yeah, there was one other thing that might help you too. The actual tent comes separate. Obviously, you build all the framing and everything, and you know, I pulled it out. I'm like, how the heck does this thing go together? Well, if you lay it on the back side of the sled here and just kind of lay it across the floor, start pulling, you know, the inside. There's these, you see these Velcro pieces that come apart. They basically, you can see there, there's 2 pieces, and then you put them around the pole. Well, what I did was I took that bottom one, found that, you know, Velcroed there, Velcroed there, Velcroed there. Took that next pole, which was laying down, found that next section, Velcroed all those, and then, you know, from that point, I basically just set it up, pushed up until they all clicked in on the sides. Same thing with that one. And then your poles, you know, these clip in as well. You can see they just clip over the pole. You snap them in, and you can unsnap them. Same thing on that side. And those poles will just lay down on the sled when you're traveling. But the 2 short poles go on the rear, and then you got 2 long poles here that go across the front. You know, clip them in. Same thing on the front. You know, you slide this out. You can see where it extends there. It's normally in and flipped over. That comes out first. Then the other 2 poles go up. And then once you're slid out, you lift up until you get your 2 clicks into there or wherever you want it. And then, you know, you're good to go to set this thing up. But yeah, the first time getting it all set up is a little bit of a pain, but hopefully that helps. You know, you find the gray side of that, hit those 3 Velcro spots, those 3, and then I just kind of worked it over and down. And on the bottom side here, it's got these little corner pieces that slide underneath the corner. And then, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but you know, that little nub goes through. Just kind of helps secure it in there. And then again, 2 Velcros in the corners. another one there, and they didn't put any there because that's the piece that extends out. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Again, it's not super hard to set this thing up, but I didn't see anything on it, and a couple little things. I get ahead of myself sometimes, so hopefully if you're like me, take a quick peek before you get going on it, and hopefully some of that stuff will help you out. Anyway, see you on the ice.